So one of the most common misunderstandings in the world of anthropology is that humans evolved from apes. And stemming from that question, if humans evolved from apes, then why are apes still around? Wouldn't all the apes just evolve into humans? The misconception comes from the term apes and what we mean by that. It is not incorrect to say that humans evolved from apes, but it is incorrect to assume that humans evolved from apes that we see and live with today. When anthropologists say humans evolved from apes, they mean that humans evolved from an ape-like ancestor species. And sure enough, the apes that we know of today also evolved from this same species. And there's plenty of evidence to back this up. Coming from a journal entry out of the Science magazine of 2021 done by a group of authors, the last shared ape ancestor had its own set of traits, different from those of modern humans and modern apes, both of which have been undergoing separate suits of selection pressures. This shows us how all of us are subject to natural selection and our own being actually responds to the pressures of the current environment. So, for example, 16 million years ago, the environment was a lot different than it had been in the last 100,000 years or so. It was less suitable for humans or apes to exist, but rather a species relative that came before us both. But as the environment changed closer to what it is today, it became more suitable for apes and humans for us to live. And what we believe to be these natural conditions from millions of years ago are supported by the fossil record, and more specifically, what we have remaining of these hominid ancestors. So, from a 2010 article out of the Annual Review of Anthropology by David Begun, in my view, the best candidate for the earliest hominid is Gryphopithecus, a genus of thickly enameled, robust-jawed ape that first appeared approximately 16 to 16.5 million years ago. The one big exception with regard to the monkey-like anatomy of these early apes is that they lacked a tail, or more precisely, they had a coccyx, as in all living hominids. This evidence of skeletons and fossils show how the ape-like figure was neither a current-day ape nor a human, but something in between, rather, and it had adapted in that specific way for its environment. And as the timeline continues, this ancestor would evolve and form the ape-like species we know today, and even later on, it would form us humans. And another misunderstanding that makes us think humans evolved from apes is that our ancestor shared with the apes was likely walking on all fours. But since that species branched into apes, the other side of the branch led to one that was bipedal. This explains how we can define the apes we see today as more basal, or basically an older species that is more closely related to our shared relative species. And these human differences, like bipedalism and cranium development, are also shown in the fossil record. According to a 2008 journal article from the Current Anthropology journal, although the earliest hominids were not yet as well known, both Ardipithecus and Orion show evidence of bipedality, albeit based on relatively minor anatomical barriers, whereas the much more complete postcranium of Australopithecus differs profoundly from those of apes. With apes established as the more basal species, we can understand that they branched off the ancestor tree way before us humans and took the natural tendency to walk on all fours with us. So we are a very new species and visually a short branch within the phylogenetic tree, which is something that should be taught early on. For example, the phylogenetic tree above, you can see the basal taxon. That would be where the apes are. And then we would be closer to something that is on the polytomy area of the branch. In order to prevent this common misconception that humans evolved from the apes we see today, we need to specify early on in schools that when we say humans evolved from apes, we really mean that humans and apes evolved from a common ape-like ancestor. and make it very clear that this ancestor is not what we think of gorillas, monkeys, or chimpanzees to be. It's not really what we see when we tour in our 7th grade field trip in biology. So here we are again. We have a chimpanzee branching off the phylogenetic tree, being one of the more basal species, and then a common sister ancestor branched, one died off, branched again, and then eventually we are left with us Homo sapiens as the less basal and the more recent species.